Chapter 23.
Get in the van,
Fiona ordered, prodding me with the nail gun. With my hand still up, I walked to the back of the van. She threw open the door and shoved me into the empty space. A security fence separated the back from the front. She slammed the door shut with a laugh that chilled my bones. A moment later, she sat in the driver's seat and tore out of the parking lot. I caught myself from sliding on the metal surface. She hadn't taken Jessica. It was almost a hopeful thought until I realized Jessica would make a break for it. Jessica would never tell the police I was abducted. Frankie knew who the driver was. Where was he? I caught glimpses of her eyes in the rearview mirror. They told the whole story. Death by nail gun. "Where's Frankie?" I asked. Her eyes flashed in the mirror.
He's tied up at the moment.
I let that sink in. He's alive. Remy and David are on their way to the chapel. They should be able to rescue him. If she didn't take Frankie or Jessica, then I must be her target. I eyed her again. She was the attacker. She's the one who operated the excavator and set the bomb. But how? How did she know how to do those things? Why? I asked, not having to expound on the simple question. Her icy laugh filled the van, and then it was quiet. I didn't think she was going to answer the question until she finally broke the uncomfortable silence.
You took everything from me. It's only right that I return the favor.
I didn't take anything away from you, Fiona. You did it to yourself.
He was happy with me.
And he would have stayed happy with you if you hadn't controlled every moment of his life. Did you flush the toilet for him too? My sarcastic comment earned a deadly nail flying at me. It lodged in the metal van floor only inches from my leg. Dang, that's a big nail.
I did many things for him,
she said. Her intonation sent a clear message. But I knew Grayson, and she was a few blueberries short of a muffin.
After he fired me, I had to grovel for my old job back. The thing is, Daddy doesn't just let a person leave and crawl back. Daddy never lets anyone leave.
The chill was back, and this time it was creepy, but it started clearing up a few things. Her eerily calm voice while talking about her dad had my active imagination running like it was infused with 10 shots of espresso. I watched, waiting for her head to start spinning like in a bad horror flick. When nothing happened and no nails were shot at me, I asked, "Where are you taking me?"
To be with Grayson.
She said simply, and then whispered to herself,
Happily ever after.
I slowly slipped close to the back door and fumbled with the handle. I'd gladly fling myself out of a moving vehicle to get as far away from Fiona as possible. The damn thing didn't budge. She tisked.
I should have brought Frankie too. It would have been perfect.
Well, if you can't do something right, you shouldn't do it at all, I said, in a sad attempt to prickle her OCD and let me free.
No, it will be right. It just would have been better.
She tisked again.
Really, I should have planned better. I'm losing my touch.
Do I ask? Do I even want to know? My brain answered, no. But somewhere my faulty instincts were telling me to discover her plan. You can't fight a shadow without finding the source. What's the plan? I asked nonchalantly. Are you going to force Grayson to kill me? She perked.
Why didn't I think of that? That's much better than my plan.
She said with a huff.
I was going to bury Grayson and you in the pond. Frankie could have married you both before I dumped you in the pit, you know? Until death do you part? How romantic. I really should have planned this better. Well, it doesn't matter. Your idea is better.
I stilled. What idea? Oh, please no. Damn this mouth of mine.
Of forcing Grayson to kill you. But don't worry, you won't be without him for long.
No one would think to look for me at Grayson's, at least not right away. She'd have us 6 feet under a pond before we'd be missed. I think you should turn this van around and get Frankie, I said as calmly as I could, which was nearly impossible. My voice shrilled in the metal van. It would be such a feather in your cap to pull off a wedding and funeral at once. It was a desperate attempt, but I was that desperate.
We're almost at Grayson's. He'll be so happy to see you. The poor guy's been starved of company.
Starved?
Poor Grayson was so distraught after your argument, he didn't see me coming. I must say, you can't dance. You were offbeat and looked like you were having spasms.
The barbs prickled, but it was Grayson who I was worried about. She had been there, watching, waiting. "You've had Grayson this entire time?"
Had him?
she asked wickedly.
Let's just say he's been in my employment since that horrible display. I have to admit, I was a much better assistant than he's been.
"Is he okay?
For now.
He knows your plan?"
Of course, even though he fired me, I still gave him the courtesy of a briefing. He was rather ungrateful of all the work and planning that went into this day, but he learned.
A slick, nauseating feeling sloshed as she rounded into Grayson's driveway. She rolled down the window and entered the gate code. What's the point of a security gate if you give the cuckoo bird the code? Fiona drove the van around to the back of the house. The van bumped along the grassy lawn. She pulled alongside the empty pond and parked. She jumped out and tossed open the back door, pointing the nail gun at me.
Come on out,
she said with a lopsided smile. Fiona wasn't wearing one of the tight dresses she normally did. She wore painter's pants and a t-shirt, both of which were well used. She wasn't an office employee in her dad's business. She was a worker.
I said get out,
she shouted. Her fingers grasped the gun firmly. "I'm coming," I said, scrambling out. There was no way I'd argue while trapped in a confined space where she couldn't miss. Talk about shooting fish in a barrel. As soon as I was on the ground, she shoved me into the pond. I rolled and tumbled until I came to an ungraceful, sprawling stop at the bottom. I quickly stood, holding my arm in pain.
Grayson, dear, I brought you a visitor.
I heard a low muttering, perhaps cursing. I scanned the pond and saw a deep pit a few yards away. I quickly crossed over to it and looked down. Grayson was at the bottom, bound and gagged. The pit was deep enough that he couldn't get out even if he wasn't bound. I whirled around to find her behind me. She shoved me, toppling me inside. Grayson made an attempt to break my fall, but with bound hands, he made us more of a tangled mess. He moaned as I landed on him, my knee falling in an unfortunate spot. "I'm so sorry," I apologized, popping off him as he curled into a ball. A laugh echoed in our deep prison. I glanced up and didn't see Fiona. Not that I wanted to see her, but not seeing her worried me. I stooped to unknot Grayson's binds. He was still curled up, but he wasn't groaning, except for the occasional whimper. "I told you she was crazy," I scolded, unraveling the knots. I knew it wasn't the time to tell him what he obviously knew, but it had to be said. No one ever listens to me. As soon as I had him freed and the gag removed, he rolled up with a wince.
"I've learned my lesson 100 times over. Where is she?"
"I don't know." She laughed and disappeared.
"She'll be back,"
he said, rubbing his wrists where the binds had rubbed his skin raw.
"I'll boost you up. Run to the garage. The keys are in the Ferrari."
"What about you?" I asked.
"I'll find a way out."
I glanced up at the wall of dirt. He wasn't getting out. He read my mind and said,
"Go find help. I'll stall."
"But,"
"There's no time."
he said, grabbing my legs and pushing me up.
"Grab a hold."
My hand dug into the dirt, but it crumbled. Grayson sputtered as dirt fell down on him. "Can you push me any higher?" I asked. "I can't get a grip." He let out a low grunt and tossed me out. Those recently added muscles came in handy.
"Hurry,"
he ordered. Damn him. I knew he was ordering me away so I could escape. He knew darn well I'd never make it back in time to help him if I left him there. If he thought I was leaving him to die, he was crazier than Fiona. An engine revved to life, and I turned to find Fiona in the excavator cab. Her hands were at the controls, maneuvering the giant machine toward the pit.
"What's going on?"
"Fiona's in the excavator."
"Run, go find help."
Damn him, I thought again. Fiona could see me. She knew I wasn't in the pit with Grayson, and yet she didn't seem concerned. It was as if she was taking her time, playing with her food before she ate.
Nadia,
she called.
don't go too far. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Her callous laugh carried in the breeze. The decision was made. I was not abandoning Grayson.
Get the hell out of here.
Grayson shouted. I'm not leaving you! I scanned for a weapon. Any weapon. There has to be a way. The excavator closed in. The engine rumbled in my ear. The tracks squeaked. I dodged as Fiona positioned the arm. She set the brakes and hopped out.
Grayson,
She called, peering into the pit yet aiming the nail gun at me.
Nadia gave me a great idea. I'll give you a second chance, but you have to prove you're worthy.
Oh, no. I scanned the pond, looking for anything that could help. There was the excavator, but I'd only get halfway into the cab before a dozen deadly nails were shot at me. I had to get the gun away from her. But how? Catching a glimpse of metal off to the side of the pond, I inched over. Grayson's shovel.
I'll let you live,
Fiona continued.
but you have to do something for me.
What?
Grayson's voice was controlled, but underlying anger infused it. I was inching closer to the shovel. Fiona wasn't paying attention, but I knew she'd detect a sudden movement. Grayson had to keep her distracted.
Kill Nadia!
She trilled with a pleased laugh. There was no answer.
You won't do it?
She asked with displeasure, her mood deteriorating rapidly.
If you don't, I'll just shoot you right now and bury you. No, that won't do. I'll bury you alive. Can you imagine it, Grayson?
Her lips curled into a sick smile.
Your lungs burning like they're on fire. Panic. Fear.
She grinned with a small hop.
So much fear and no escape. Your body trapped under hundreds of pounds of dirt. No escape.
Her chin tilted.
Are you sure you wouldn't rather live? All you have to do is kill Nadia.
The shovel was at my feet. I slowly bent to pick it up. My fingers gripped the handle. I inched toward Fiona with the shovel behind me.
How?
Grayson asked. Fiona's brows quirked.
How would I kill her?
Grayson asked.
Nail to the head?
She offered thoughtfully.
You could strangle her. How about burying her alive?
She shook her head.
No, that's too easy. I want to see you kill her with your own hands.
I'll do it.